Okay, let's zoom in a little bit. So the video is Dazzle, audio is Dazzle, NTSC, 16:9 aspect ratio. Keep the capture preview off, because that elite processing speed to give you the preview up here. You want that screen to go black while you're recording. And then no scene detection. You don't want it to break up your video. You can do that yourself in the edit mode. So the capture format, MPEG, make it custom, and do MPEG 2, 720 by 480. I go with 8,000 kilobytes per second. You can, if you're having processing issues, you can continue to back it off until you find the balance between quality versus, I guess, if the video looks normal enough. You can keep the audio the same. What I suggest you could possibly do is disable the white and red RCA cables from the Dazzle itself, so you're recording silence. That should help with some processing too. This stuff could pretty much all stay the same. You really don't need to worry about it until you're finished. And this stuff, you want to disable the background rendering. You don't want it to render it in the background. That'll save you a little bit of processing speed too. Everything else can pretty much stay the same. Obviously you don't want a full resolution preview. You can worry about how everything looks once you get into the edit bay and tab number 2 at the top. Okay, for video quality, this one's equally important to your resolution in kilobytes per second. So let's kind of move left to right. These first two can stay the same. The sharpness you actually want pretty low, because if it's up high, due to the low resolution in which you're recording, it can pixelate out pretty bad. And the color is, you can just leave that at the middle. This one, you can play around with. I mean, if you get that saturation way up, it can kind of wash out some of that pixelization. So that's kind of preference. I've just left it in the middle. You're going to want to stick with your custom settings that we went through before. And the audio capture, if you can turn it off, that would be great, because it's going to save you on processing speed. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that screen. Oh, lastly, if you can do S-video, it'll be a slight improvement in quality. I don't really know how much. Okay, this is pretty much self-explanatory. I mean, this is once you've got the video recorded, drop it down into here, move it along your timeline any way you want, and then this tool is pretty handy because you can cut it and move to there. You can cut it there, and then you can, if you want, you can delete that section out and make your video shorter, do whatever you want. All this stuff is pretty easy. I mean, if you want to bring in sounds, you can just drop them down in here. If you want music over it, hit your music thing. That's just the music that comes with Windows. Yeah, so all this stuff is pretty easy. If you play around with it long enough, you're pretty much going to get it. The only thing I've found that's kind of cool, obviously this is how I do my voiceovers. Just tap on record and away you go. But this is pretty important too, your volume levels. If you notice my first couple videos, I'm really loud, and somebody brought that up to me, and I appreciate that feedback. So what you can do is, this is the volume level for your video, this is the volume level for your voiceover, and then this is volume level out for music, and then this is total volume level. So if you're just completely way too loud, you can just knock that down a little bit. But you can't change it midway through a video, or you'll hear your audio levels go up and down through the video, even after you do the make movie. And yeah, so I think those are really the only tips and pointers I can give you for this. Everything else is pretty much just playing with the different tools along the bar here, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't for you. And yeah, I mean, I guess cutting the movie, it's all up to you. Okay, so I guess this is the last step before you put your video on YouTube and become a YouTube star, if you're using the Dazzle anyway. So you can have your video down here, right? And here's my settings right here. So if you need to change those settings, just go into settings, and that's pretty much it. We're still at 8,000 kilobytes. Pretty much nothing changes. But you are going to include audio this time, because that's going to include your voiceover or your commentary. And then you're just going to hit create file. And I guess what kind of settings you want. I mean, you could do whatever you want here, but I pretty much just stick with the MPEG 2. But you could play around with this a little bit. The only thing, this isn't going to affect your record quality at all. Your frame rate should be around 30. I don't think you need 60 frames a second. So yeah, then once you hit go, it just processes your video out, puts it to a location, and then you just upload it to YouTube.